Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Torigno, and this is the second page of the Algebra 1B Semester 2 exam review. So this will start with problem number 6 and go down through problem number 11. These questions cover the properties of exponents, and just as a point of reference, these are the properties that we made that flip book on, so you should have a flip book somewhere in your notes that has all of the rules for working with exponents in it. Okay, this first one says 2 over 3 to the power of negative 4. Two things to remember here. First of all, when you're raising a fraction to a power, you have to apply the power to the top and the bottom of the fraction. So I'm going to end up doing 2 to the power of 4 and 3 to the power of 4. And then, because it's negative, remember a negative exponent takes a fraction and flips it over. So really what I'm going to end up doing is taking 3 to the 4th power and putting it on top, and then 2 to the 4th power and putting it on the bottom. So the 3 and the 2 switch places, and I'm raising them both to the power of 4. Okay? And then 3 to the 4th power is 81, and 2 to the 4th power is 16. And that's just it. Your final answer is 81 over 16. Okay, number 7 is similar, and actually it's even a little bit simpler. It says 1 over p to the power of negative 1/2. Well, that negative in the negative 1/2 is going to make that fraction flip over, so it's going to become p over 1. But remember, anytime you have something over 1, you really don't need that 1 on the bottom. So now it's just a p. And because I went ahead and flipped my fraction over, my exponent's no longer negative. So it'll just be p to the power of positive 1/2. And that's your final answer. Okay, question 8. This one wants us to simplify using these exponents. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take negative 2 and raise it to the 3rd power. Remember, that's like doing negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. In fact, I'm going to write that up here. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Well, negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And then times another negative 2 would be negative 8. So negative 2 to the power of 3 is negative 8. And then here where I'm raising a power to a power, my rule for that is to multiply my exponents together. So 3 times 3 is 9. This will become x to the power of 9. And then here this y right now doesn't have an exponent on it, so you could really think of it as a 1. 1 times 3 is just 3, so this would become y to the 3rd power. And that's your final answer. Negative 8, x to the 9th, y to the 3rd. Now I know some of you might be thinking that that 8 is negative, so it needs to go on the bottom. But remember, it's not a negative exponent, it's just a negative number. So that's fine, just the way it is. Okay, let's look at number 9. That's another question asking us to simplify. First thing I want to do is take 4 and raise it to the power of negative 2. Remember, a negative exponent does not make your answer negative. Really what this is telling us to do is do 4 to the power of 2, which is 16, and then the fact that it's negative means that that 16 is going to be on the bottom of a fraction. Okay, so negative exponents just direct traffic. They don't make anything negative. They just tell you whether it goes on the top or the bottom. Now here I have m to the negative 3rd, and then that to the power of negative 2. So I'm going to multiply those together. And when I multiply negative 3 times negative 2, it gives me a positive 6. So since it's positive, that means the m is going to end up on top of the fraction. And I'll have m to the power of positive 6 up on top. And then for the n, when I multiply 2 times negative 2, I get negative 4. Since it's negative, that means it's going to go on the bottom with the 16. But remember, when I put it down there, it's no longer negative. That negative was only there to tell you to put it on the bottom. So once you put it on the bottom, you're done with it. Okay, so my final answer there would be m to the 6th over 16n to the 4th. Okay, number 10 looks a little bit complicated. And there's a couple of different ways to go about this one. There's a couple of different orders you could go in that would still get you to the correct answer. I'm going to show you sort of how I would approach a problem like this one, but you may have done it a different way and would still get to the right answer. I'm going to start by just looking at the top and the bottom separately. And I know here, when I raise a power to a power, I'm going to multiply. So negative 4 times negative 2 gives me positive 8. So this will become x to the 8th. Y to the 3rd, and then to the negative 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And I'm just going to leave that as a negative 6 right now. I know you might be thinking, well, that means it has to go on the bottom. But we'll take care of that in just a minute. And then I have z to the power of 2, and then to the power of negative 2. So 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Okay. Now let's do the exact same thing down on the bottom. So all of this is being raised to the power of 3. So 5 times 3 is 15. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. And this is really z to the first power. So 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, now I'm looking at a division problem. And when I divide with exponents, I really want to subtract. So 8 minus 15 is negative 7. Careful with this one. Negative 6 minus negative 12. And if you have to, you can punch that into a calculator. But negative 6 minus negative 12 is really a positive 6. And then negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. Okay, now my very last step would be to decide what goes on the top and what goes on the bottom. I see that my y has a positive exponent, so that's going to go up on top. And my x and my z both have negative exponents, so those are going to go on the bottom. And remember that once you put them on the bottom, they become positive. So my final answer is y to the 6th over x to the 7th, z to the 7th. There's your final answer there. Some of you may have been able to do that in less steps, but I just wanted you to make sure you could follow everything that I was doing. Okay, number 11. The reason I'm asking you to do all of these is that the location of the parentheses really makes a big difference in your answer. So you can certainly type all of these straight into a calculator, and that's what I would recommend, but just make sure that you put the parentheses in exactly as they're shown in the problem. So the first one, when I type in, and you should be typing these in your calculator along with me, just to make sure you're getting the right answer, 729 to the power of 1/2. Oh, and also make sure in your calculator, when you type in the 1/2, that the 1/2 is in parentheses. Hopefully you can see that on mine. Okay, the 1/2 will need to be in parentheses as well. 729 to the power of 1/2, and I get 27. Now here, when I do negative 729 to the power of 1/2, I get an error on my calculator. That means this value is undefined, and we'll talk in just a minute why that's undefined. And then here, which is the exact same thing except without the parentheses, I end up with negative 27. Your calculator's not lying to you, that's the correct answer. Okay, 729 to the power of 1/3 is 9. Just wanted to double check that one. Now here, when I do negative 729 to the power of 1/3 in parentheses, I get negative 9. And then I actually get the same answer here. Negative 729 to the power of 1/3. So again, you should be trying those in your calculator and make sure you're getting all those same answers. Now, you should notice that letter B and letter E are very similar, but this one came out to be undefined and this one didn't. And hopefully you're thinking to yourself, well, why would that be? Well, here, this is being split into an even number of parts. It's being split into 2 equal parts. And remember, you can't take a negative number and split it into an even number of parts. But you can take a negative number and split it into an odd number of parts. So that's why this one worked and this one did not. Okay? But it's very important that you are able to get that this one is undefined. Okay? Okay, that does it for this page. The next video will cover page 3.